Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something pretty significant happening in education technology, specifically in Africa.
That's right. EON Reality just launched their Spatial AI Academy across several African nations.
And this wasn't some low-key announcement, was it? It happened at the Learning Africa Summit.
Yeah, and apparently with dozens of African ministers there, so clearly a lot of high-level interest.
Which makes sense. They're framing this around a concept they call the third way learning platform. Sounds ambitious.
It does. It seems to promise a revolutionary approach.
So our mission today is to unpack that. What is this spatial AI thing, and how could it actually, change education on the continent?
Good place to start. And maybe we should first outline the challenges it's supposed to solve. What are the big hurdles in African education right now?
Yeah, the sources we looked at paint a pretty clear picture. First off, there's a massive teacher shortage in many regions.
Huge, which makes it hard to deliver quality teaching consistently, especially when you factor in rural accessibility. Getting good education to remote areas is tough.
Absolutely. And even where there are schools, resources can be really constrained. We're talking textbooks, equipment, the basics.
Right. Then layer on top of that the digital divide. Internet access is still a major issue. Some reports suggest, less than 20% connectivity in certain areas?
Exactly. So online-only solutions just won't cut it for everyone.
Not even close. And related to all this, there are, gaps in quality. The standard of education can vary wildly.
And one last big one the sources hit on, the skills mismatch. What students learn often doesn't quite line up with what jobs are actually available or what industries need.
A classic problem, but maybe even more pronounced in some developing economies.
Okay, so quite a list of challenges. Teacher shortages, access resources, digital divide, quality control, skills gap. So how does this Spatial AI Academy propose to tackle all that?
Well, the core idea is using AI, specifically the spatial AI, to deliver instruction. Think AI tutors, immersive lessons, that kind of thing. The goal is scale.
Scale beyond needing a physical teacher for every student, I guess.
Precisely. And importantly, they're talking about an offline-capable hybrid model.
Ah, okay, so that directly addresses the connectivity problem for remote areas. That seems critical.
Absolutely crucial. You can download content when you do have connection, then use it offline. They also mentioned smart content distribution.
What does that mean in practice? Just efficient delivery.
Yeah, basically optimizing how learning materials are sent out and stored, minimizing data usage, making the most of limited bandwidth or storage.
Okay. And how are they bridging that digital divide technically? Did they mention specifics?
They did. Progressive web apps, or PWAs, were mentioned. These are like websites that act like apps, often lighter and more adaptable to patchy internet.
Right. I've used those. They can work offline sometimes too.
Exactly, and coupled with data compression techniques to keep the file sizes down, it's all about accessibility on lower-end devices and weaker connections.
Makes sense. So that covers access and the digital divide. What about the quality gaps we mentioned?
That's where the standardized AI curricula come in. The idea is the AI delivers a consistent, quality-controlled curriculum, regardless of the local teacher's specific expertise or availability.
Interesting. Standardizing through AI. And the skills mismatch.
They're focusing heavily on TVET, that's technical and vocational education and training.
Okay.
But specifically industry-aligned TVET. So using the platform to teach practical skills that are actually in demand locally or regionally, trying to directly link the learning to employment needs.
So it's a multi-pronged approach using this tech scale, offline access, efficient delivery, standardized quality, and job-relevant skills. Quite comprehensive.
It seems to be. On paper, at least.
And this Africa launch, it wasn't just one country, right? Where did they go?
No, it was a tour. The sources mentioned Zanzibar, Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda specifically for the African leg.
Okay, a significant footprint to start. And this is part of a wider global push.
Correct. They're doing similar launches or have plans for the Middle East, UAE, Saudi Arabia were named, also Asia Pacific, India, Vietnam, Singapore, and globally from their base in California.
Wow, okay. So Africa is a major focus, but it's a global strategy.
Definitely looks that way.
We also saw names of specific officials involved, which seemed noteworthy.
Yes, Honorable Prof. Adolf Mkenda. He's the Minister of Education, Science, and Technology in, I believe, Tanzania, given the Zanzibar launch focus.
Right, and Honorable Jerry William Seal, Minister of Information, Communication, and Information Technology.
And they were apparently involved in a demonstration of the tech with the EON Reality chairman.
That level of ministerial engagement feels like more than just a photo op. It suggests serious consideration, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It signals potential government buy-in, which is often critical for these kinds of large-scale education initiatives to actually get implemented and, succeed.
So bringing it all together, what's the potential impact here? If this works as intended, what could it mean for education in Africa?
Well, the potential is genuinely transformative, I think. You're talking about leveraging pretty advanced global tech AI, spatial computing, but applying it very specifically to solve grounded local problems.
Like leapfrogging some of the traditional infrastructure challenges.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah.
Overcoming teacher shortages through AI scaling, bypassing connectivity issues with offline modes, addressing quality variations with standardized content, closing skills gaps with targeted TVET. It could significantly boost access and relevance.
The key seems to be that blend high-tech, but designed for the specific constraints and needs of the region, not just dropping in a solution made for somewhere else.
Exactly. That focus on offline, on compression, on TVET, that tailoring is vital. It shows an understanding of the context.
It really highlights how technology isn't just an add-on anymore, but potentially a core mechanism for educational development, especially where traditional systems face big hurdles.
Right. It could fundamentally change how education is delivered and accessed.
Okay, that's a fascinating development to watch. Which leads us to a final thought for you, our listeners. Thinking beyond Africa, how could these kinds of spatial AI and tailored tech solutions be adapted elsewhere? What unique educational challenges in, say, underserved communities in developed nations or other regions with different constraints could benefit from similar thinking?
Could this model apply to different kinds of access issues, maybe?
Definitely something to mull over. How global tech can be adapted for very specific local needs, wherever they may be. Thanks for digging into this with us today.